logs. And this is all to make sure evening PRTG and Flowmon today's webinar. We will start in a few moments just to let the session will be reviewed. You will get so today we will be talking about Flowmon's integration with Paessler's PRTG tools. The session will take about 30 minutes. We will show you some theory, but also a live demo by our experts. And as I mentioned, we will start in a few more moments. I'll go on mute for a little bit and come back to you very soon. All right, it seems that almost everyone has already managed to log in. So let's start with today's webinar. My name is Arthur Kane. I'll be your host for today. And joining me today, we have three very special guests that I'm really honored to have online. Starting with the person that you're familiar with, Pavel Minařík, Flowmon CTO. Hi, Pavel.
Hi, Arthur. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Pavel's broadcasting today from his personal lab, and we are very honored to have his personal equipment being used for demonstration today. We also have Thomas Timmerman from Paessler. Hi, Thomas. Welcome.
Hi, Arthur. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining here, and thanks for listening to this presentation here. And hopefully we can get you some interesting things here.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Simon Bell. Hi, Simon. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, Arthur. Very good, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the session.
Excellent. I'm not sure if the audience can see the screen the way I see it, but on the left side, we have the marketing experts who are here to talk about benefits of the joint solution. And on the right side, we have the product and technical experts showing us the lab and the demonstration. And without further ado, let's get into it. The session will be recorded. You will get a link to our YouTube channel for later use. Please feel free to send your questions throughout the call. We will see if we can manage to answer them during the session or at the end. And hopefully I didn't forget anything. Oh yes, I did. Pavel, it is now the right time for you to start with the attack and the traffic so that you can demonstrate it later during the call. So
Okay, we'll do so, Arthur.
Excellent. All right, I will share my screen. Everyone else can hide your webcams now, and let's start with the presentation part. So today we will talk about the challenges that we have today managing and monitoring hybrid network environments. We will tell you the differences between infrastructure monitoring and network visibility. We will tell you how beneficial it is to join them and integrate them. We will tell you how it is done, looking at the architecture of the joint solution. We will then go into promised live demonstration, show you what to read more, and give you links to important documents. And we will explain who Flowmon and Paessler are. Now, today's networks are heterogeneous. We see with the recent changes, and looking at us, two of us sitting in Germany, two in Czech Republic, all on different spots, we need to be able to work from anywhere. That means networks are no longer about just corporate sites and private data centers. It is about cloud, it is about home office, it is about coffee shops. And these environments are very decentralized in who's owning what parts of it. So looking at end-to-end communication, people can be connecting to applications owned by third parties through internet service providers who are third parties using devices, let's say, of their personal ownership. But still, IT departments are responsible for making sure all of this is functional. We can have two strategies. One is to purchase different tools that do different things and very often have overlapping functionalities, which is waste of time and budgets. Or we can be looking at very specialized tools that we can integrate and looking for the best options to combine to get a holistic view across this whole environment. This is actually to support the main goals of networking and security departments, which is to restore everything as soon as possible, to reduce mean time to resolve. Looking at statistics, very often, most of the time on resolving a problem lies in figuring out where it is and looking for the root cause and identifying the scope of the issue. And over a third of network management time is spent on troubleshooting, which is reactive. So that means we're waiting for users to notify us about something, something that went wrong, rather than being proactive and detecting problems ourselves and having a single pane of glass, a dashboard that notifies us about anything going rogue in our network. Network visibility and the capability of seeing traffic and communication, usage of assets, and end-to-end communication from clients to servers and back is very complementary to security strategies. We see a great topic everywhere we go on specialized conferences that talks about something called SOC, or Security Visibility Triad, that actually tells that there are three main pillars to security today, and that is combining endpoint detection with network detection, and on top of it, collecting logs. And this is all to make sure we can pick up on insider threats and threats that actually hide and look at the gaps in traditional networking approaches. So when we combine PRTG and Flowmon together, what do we get? We can decrease costs across network monitoring. This is by avoiding functional gaps, looking at technologies that don't have overlapping functionality, but very complement themselves in the functionality and types of depths of visibilities that they provide. We can know everything and thanks to Paessler's very broad IT monitoring, we can monitor every asset in the network and know its status, regardless of its manufacturer or operating system, and having maximum transparency. We can reduce clutter, and that is by being notified about what is important, thanks to machine learning and detections provided by Flowmon in this puzzle. And we can enhance our security by being able to track and report on threats in their early stages by looking at indicators of compromise rather than looking for signatures. Simon, can I please ask you to turn your webcam on again, show us and tell us more about the architecture of the joint solution?
Sure, thanks, Arthur. So let's have a look at how the two systems integrate. Well, a typical use case would be to have PRTG collecting performance and health data from all of the devices on the network. And we have over 270 different types of sensor that range from simple SNMP checks through to sophisticated script or API-based sensors. And PRTG provides full 24/7 monitoring of the entire infrastructure, whether that be a traditional IT network, an IoT network, an industrial IoT, or even a healthcare environment. So whilst PRTG is monitoring the overall health of that network, Flowmon is also checking the interaction of the devices on that network. Now it uses sophisticated AI-enhanced analytics methods, which means that Flowmon can identify anomalies or anomalous activity on the network, and also indicators of compromise, whether they originate from inside or outside the network. Now, Flowmon have created a set of SNMP and script-based PRTG sensors that collect information not just about the health and performance of the Flowmon appliance, but also it can retrieve details about detected anomalies and suspicious behavior. All that data is then processed by PRTG. It can then be used to trigger notifications, be collated into reports, and also displayed on dashboards alongside similar data that's been retrieved from the standard network devices in the environment. So I'll hand across to Pavel now to explain in a little bit more detail about how that works.
Yeah, so as Simon explained, there is a significant difference between monitoring tools, right? The problem with the word monitoring is that it's kind of overloaded. So sometimes when people talk about network monitoring, they actually don't understand each other, because we have on one side IT infrastructure monitoring that is very broad, that covers all the servers, services, applications, so entire infrastructure, and gives you the full picture. But at the same time, there is network monitoring in terms of network performance monitoring and diagnostics that goes very deep into the network traffic itself. So it measures each and every network transaction, network session, and it gives you an enriched network telemetry that you can use to understand specific performance of two endpoints in the network, or why these endpoints are not able to establish a network session. And you use the same data for network detection and response. So you basically want the system to detect out of the box anomalies like indicators of compromise, attacks against services, and so on. So that's the significant difference between IT infrastructure monitoring and network performance monitoring and diagnostics. We can demonstrate that on two examples. So Arthur, if you can just give me a next slide that shows you a joint integrated network operations use case. One of the major topics in network monitoring is bandwidth utilization. So whenever you have an internet uplink for a distant location, this is usually just a few megabits per second. So it's not a link that can handle any traffic. So with IT infrastructure monitoring, you have SNMP, you count packets on individual interfaces, so you can easily understand, yes, I have a saturated uplink, I have some traffic spike. That is something that PRTG will give you out of the box. But then you need to understand the root cause of the issue. You need to do the drill down. So that's the Flowmon part, because with the network telemetry, we will give you IP conversations, we will give you HTTP host names, we will give you applications. So we will basically give you out of the box root cause analysis, so you will understand who is responsible for that bandwidth utilization, why that traffic spike is occurring in your network, and you can take proper countermeasures. And we also have another security use case that demonstrates the integration of PRTG and Flowmon ADS. So you have the ability to monitor resource utilization on individual servers, hosts. So again, that's use of SNMP or VMI to collect on memory utilization, CPU utilization, disk consumption, and so on. In PRTG, you can see that you have a host that is now using CPU heavily. Actually, PRTG has the ability to tell you now the values from this sensor are kind of unusual, so you should look at it. And that's exactly this example. And our drill down to anomaly detection system. So for the same host, you will actually identify events saying there is a crypto mining detected. So that host has been infected, and now the host is working as a machine that is doing crypto mining for the attacker. So that's another example of network detection and response, and how you will benefit from the mutual PRTG and Flowmon integration.
Thank you, Pavel. Before we go into the demo, Simon, can I call you back for a second? Because we have one question that I believe would be great to answer now. Pavel already started talking about the use cases, and he showed some of the information that PRTG is able to show on the joined dashboards. And the question that we received says, what is the true range of information presented by the Flowmon and PRTG combination? Can you summarize it? Simon, I believe you're muted. Okay, that's fine. We will come back to this question later. Pavel, I'll give you presenter rights so you can jump into the live demo, and the stage is yours.
Okay, so now you should be able to see my screen.
We do, thank you.
And this is the homepage of PRTG. So that's the system I'm running in my personal lab. And I'll show you what kind of devices you can expect here. So it's kind of a standard network infrastructure with a gateway, with a switch, with a VMware virtualization, with a couple of Linux machines. And also we do have here some Flowmon appliances. So this Flowmon 11.1 stands for one of the Flowmon systems that I'm running in the lab. And you can see that there is a bunch of sensors related to Flowmon. Maybe before really jumping into such details, there is a better view. This is a special map created for Flowmon, so that's part of the integration as well. PRTG has this ability to create maps to visualize data from the sensors. So we use this capability to visualize data being extracted from the Flowmon appliance. So we see volumetric characteristics like traffic that we are collecting and measuring in terms of bits per second, packets per second, flows per second. Also look at network performance metrics. So we provide round trip time, server response time, retransmissions, and all this data is visualized on the map. There is also a chart showing events from the anomaly detection system. So we can actually see that we have a couple of events with medium, high, and critical priority being detected. So these events actually correspond to the attack that I have recently started in my lab. And on the right side, this is the monitoring of the Flowmon itself. So Flowmon as a Linux-based machine or as an appliance provides SNMP monitoring capabilities. So you can check for memory consumption, CPU utilization. You can check for specific processes if they are running properly on Flowmon appliance itself. So that's part of the integration as well. So now I'm going to drill down to the scope of individual sensors. So these sensors refer to SNMP checks of the Flowmon appliance, and then we have sensors that extract the real data from the monitoring. So when we look at sensor collecting data from the anomaly detection system, you actually see that the last extracted values from that sensor are several critical and high priority events. So when we look at the live data chart, you see these are individual readings of the sensor showing the number of specific events detected and reported. So what you can do now, you can take it from here and you can drill down to details in the Flowmon system. So I'm going to now use device tools in PRTG and open the window with the Flowmon system. So now we are looking at the user interface of Flowmon, and I will start with the part dashboards and reports and just look at last 12 hours. So what we see here is that we have critical events detected and reported, which is basically the same information you have in PRTG. You also get a sense of what these events, these activities are, but I want to do more detailed drill down, so I go for more information, which means I will open the analysis of events. And here is the chart of detected events, and the events are organized in different categories. These categories correspond to different kinds of attacks, anomalies, different kinds of attacker activities in the network. So let's now take a look in more detail what happened, what the attacker actually did. So I just do a different view. So how it started? There is a device in the network that's under the attacker control, and that device started by conducting a TCP SYN scan against these destination IPs. That was also manifested by other events, but I will just highlight the most important ones. So after the attacker has discovered several servers and protocols such as Windows Remote Desktop, the attacker started an activity to get unauthorized access. So he attacked the Windows server, and he was able to actually extract sensitive data from the data storage. And after extracting those data, the attacker was actually using pretty, I would say, clever technique how to exfiltrate that data from the network environment. So he was actually splitting the data into small chunks, and he was using the ICMP, the ping command, to get the data out of the network, which is something that we see detected and reported, including something we call event evidence. So you will get to the level of individual flows that actually correspond to the detected and reported anomaly in the network. You can also explore the attacker activity by a capability we call interactive event visualization. So again, you have all the details about the detected event. You see the event source on the IP address level, MAC address level, and you have an interactive chart, so you can explore the attacker's activity, so which other systems he contacted. So that's actually the system that provided the data. So that's the system where the attacker downloaded the data, and this is the IP address where the attacker did the data exfiltration over an alternative protocol. So for that purpose, he was using ICMP. So this is the level of detail that you can actually get with Flowmon, and these are the detection capabilities that you can get out of the box. So let me now just go back to PRTG, because I want to show one more thing. In PRTG, you can also take advantage of an incident handling and incident lifecycle. So as we have in Flowmon, ADS detected critical events, this automatically created a ticket in PRTG that you can now assign to the specific user, or you can resolve it. You can work with the ticket through the life cycle of that whole incident, and you can manage it properly. So that was the scope of the live demonstration. Arthur, you are muted.
Thank you very much, Pavel, for excellent and thorough presentation. I'll take over the presenting rights and jump into the presentation. And while I do so, we received quite a few questions that I'd like to go through now. Simon, do we have you ready? It seems that last time I may have accidentally muted you, but it should be working. I can see you great. And what about microphone? You're still muted. And you should be unmuted now. We can hear you. Good, good.
Excellent.
So the question was, sorry, let me just repeat the question. The question was, what is the true range of information presented by Flowmon and PRTG in combination?
The short answer is very deep. PRTG can monitor any device that has an IP address, either supports a standard protocol such as SNMP or WMI, or has an interface that we can access through something like SSH, or has an API that we can retrieve data from. So there's a massive range of devices that PRTG can pull data from for monitoring. So that gives you the breadth, the wide scope of monitoring. Now, as Pavel's just demonstrated, to go much deeper than that sort of broad overview, then a tool like Flowmon is absolutely ideal to get down to the packet level to see what's actually happening. So the combination of the two products together gives you both breadth and depth for monitoring and keeping track of what's happening in the environment.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Simon. Pavel, and I also have one question to you, which is related to the demo. And it goes, what does the perspective currently showing in the demo is used for? Do you recall what perspective you used, and what does it show in particular? Pavel, are you able to answer this question?
Yeah, sure. The perspective in ADS is something that defines the event priority. So whenever you want to say this is critical, this is high importance, and so on, you have a set of rules that assign the priority to the event. So for the demonstration, I created a special perspective that will show this attack, that will actually point this attack out from all the other things that are happening in my lab. But in real deployment, you will actually use usually the generic perspective called security issues. So you will actually map your PRTG sensors to load the data from that perspective and show you events from the security issues perspective. That would be the typical setup. But again, it's customizable. So in fact, you can use whatever perspective or whatever event priorities make sense in your specific environment.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Let me give you a few links to where to continue after today's webinar that hasn't ended, because we still have a lot of questions to go through. We have a joint white paper that explains the joint benefits, summarizes the integration, and explains the joint use case. We also have blogs on both Paessler and Flowmon sites that talk about the integration from a little bit different perspectives, but both are quite technically savvy if you wish, and you can definitely read them to understand in better detail the integration itself from the technical perspective. Now, Thomas, can you tell us a little bit more about Paessler?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Arthur. So I will just say a few words about the company, Paessler, and about PRTG in general. So as you can see on the slide, we talk of one solution to monitor everything. So that's where we see our main task to really go. This what also Simon already mentioned, the broad monitoring overview. But first, let me get back to Paessler. So we're in business now for more than 20 years. It was founded by Dirk Paessler in the 1990s. At the moment, we have more than 300,000 users worldwide of PRTG, what makes us probably one of the most used commercial monitoring solutions out there. Our headquarters is still in Nuremberg, Germany, and we have offices all around the world. And what made us so successful through all the years is, first of all, this decision to go broad. So to really give you all the things that could be interesting in your IT. So that's classic infrastructure monitoring, but it's also entering shop floors in manufacturing. It's about IoT monitoring, healthcare devices. So we support all those protocols to go in there. And we do all this with one solution. So it's not like modules that you have to buy for each single thing you want to do. It's just one license and you get all the features included. Even with our freeware, you can download it. It's limited to 100 sensors. A sensor is just one measuring point. Even the freeware version is used in commercial environments to monitor some strategic points. But you could also use it in your home lab to monitor your stuff. If you're a tech nerd, it could be very helpful there also. Licensing is one of the things that really gives us a huge gives you as a customer a huge benefit, as I said, one license and you get the whole monitoring feature set included. Another point is probably usability. As we do this broad monitoring and do not this in depth for every single thing we support, we can keep usability on a very high level. So it's very easy to work with PRTG. That's at least the feedback we get from all our users and from journalists and everybody who knows PRTG a bit. Why did we choose Flowmon to complement PRTG? And that's a little bit, I hope it got clear in this demo already. We're not the tool for the deep analysis. So when it comes to root cause analysis, that's not our strength. But sometimes it's necessary. If you got an issue in PRTG, then you want to know where does it come from, what caused, how can I solve the problem? And then Flowmon is probably one of the best tools as far as we found out. Also, Flowmon has been definitely a recommendation from Gartner. I had a conversation with Gartner about which companies they would recommend to work together with Paessler, and there was Flowmon one of the first mentions. So that's why, and we found out that it really integrates very well based on those sensors that Flowmon built. And another big asset for us from our perspective is the security feature of Flowmon. So we're often asked on how does PRTG support security, and of course we we call it a kind of a meta security tool. So we can assure that your virus definitions are up to date, that your firewalls are running. We can monitor all these security tools, but we're not really an active security tool. With Flowmon, we get much more security assets by integrating all these Flowmon security features with PRTG. And so this is what really convinced us to go into this cooperation here. And we are definitely convinced that merging Flowmon and PRTG, bringing them together, has huge benefits for everybody using both tools. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to answering some of your questions that might pop up, and I give back to Arthur for the next round here. Thank you very much.
And you convinced me to, Thomas. Thank you very much. Briefly about Flowmon before we jump into the questions. I have one great for you, Thomas. Who Flowmon is. Flowmon specializes in network visibility used by both networking departments and security departments, each for their own use, which could be capacity planning, troubleshooting, user experience monitoring, or detection of unwanted traffic, insider threats, and unknown threats. And they also use it jointly. So we help NetOps and SecOps teams to coordinate on infrastructure design, incident monitoring, handling, and response. Okay, without further ado, it's a questions round. There are so many that collected here. Hopefully we'll be able to answer majority of them. All panelists, can you join me back, please? And because, Thomas, you were the last one to speak, the first question will come to you. And let me scroll through them. It goes, how is the pricing policy for Flowmon and PRTG integration prepared?
So in general, you would need a PRTG license and you would need a Flowmon license. At the moment, there is no bundling or stuff. You can find the PRTG pricing on our website. It's very simple. It's very clear. We have two different products. So we have the network monitor, what is our traditional product, and as of beginning of this year, we also offer the enterprise monitor that has subscription-based licensing. Usually PRTG comes as a perpetual license. With the enterprise monitor, we offer subscription-based licensing that's mainly interesting if you're monitoring large environments where you would need more than just one PRTG core server installation. Our pricing starts at, I think, 1,200 euros, and it counts just by the number of sensors you're using. A sensor, as I mentioned, is a measuring point. It could be a ping on a machine, could also be a flow stream you get from a machine. That depends completely on the type of sensor. Sensors have multiple channels, so they can give you a lot of values also. For the Flowmon pricing, I would give back to Flowmon, so I think you guys can much better answer questions about Flowmon pricing.
Sure. Thank you, Thomas, for summarizing that we don't have a joint pricing bundle. You need to get a license separately. Ours is capacity-based or traffic volume, if you wish, based pricing. You can get in perpetual and subscription, and hardware, virtual, and cloud. And for more information, we're happy to answer offline. Thank you, Thomas.
And the integration itself is free.
And the integration itself is free, available our support for.
That was a question we have actually been asked already, and I completely forgot about it. Yeah, the integration is something that you can just get from Flowmon as a script that you can download and use.
Good. And next question is, how does Flowmon monitor devices and sensors not built into PRTG as shipped? Do I need to go through importing sensors from MIB files? Pavel or Simon, whoever you feel is the best one to answer, please go ahead.
I'll take that. We have over 270 predefined types of sensor in PRTG, and they range from the simplest ping sensor through SNMP sensors, predefined WMI sensors for Microsoft infrastructure, And then on top of that, we have specialist sensors for things like storage systems, virtualization platforms, IoT systems. We even have a range of sensors specifically for medical applications. So for medical imaging systems that use things like HL7 and DICOM protocols, we have sensors for that. And we're now moving heavily into the IoT and industrial IoT space. We've got sensors for things like Modbus and OPC UA, and will be available in the next few weeks. So on top of those predefined sensors, you can also use things like, as the Flowmon guys have done, Python to create script-based sensors, or PowerShell, or if you have a system with an API, a REST-based API, we have sensors that can retrieve data through REST APIs. So it's a very, very broad range of possibilities for getting data into PRTG.
Thank you, Simon. I'm very glad to have some expert like you on call, because when I read MIB, all I think of is Men in Black. Next question.
I think, Arthur, we should add to this, because the question was like for PRTG part and for Flowmon part. So the difference is that Flowmon does not have any sensors, does not do any SNMP, does not do any active monitoring at all. That's completely different perspective. Flowmon does the passive network traffic monitoring by consuming flow data, so net flow, IP fix, JFlow, whatever flow is there from router switches, or Flowmon provides a device called the probe, which just listens to the network traffic and provides the network telemetry. So that's the combination we are talking since the very beginning. That's the active monitoring with sensors and passive network monitoring, still monitoring overall the term, but really different perspectives on looking at the IP.
What a great transition to the next question, which is for you, Pavel. Is flow monitoring an alternate option to NetFlow, JFlow, and SFlow, or is it a diagnostic tool to locate PRTG sensor problem causes?
Well, I would not say it's an alternative. The IT infrastructure monitoring is a must. You need to understand the status of the devices, of the network elements. You need to understand these basics. Otherwise, you cannot really move on. You don't have your infrastructure under control. But when you will like grow up with these tools, you will get to issues that you need to solve, and you are not able to solve them just with infrastructure monitoring, because you need to get deeper insight into the network traffic itself. So there is a client who is not able to establish a session with the server. So what is the problem? Is it firewall blocking those connections, or are the packets dropped somewhere, or what's happening? So you need more detailed visibility. And then there is the security aspect. So it's the anomaly detection out of the box. PRTG will not tell you that this specific device now started to communicate with botnet command control center. That's not its goal. That's not its purpose. So it's a really different level of visibility. It's not an alternative. You end up with a need to have both, and IT infrastructure monitoring is really the basics.
Thank you. I believe the next question will be for Simon. Say we have an issue on one particular interface detected in PRTG. Is it possible to jump directly from that interface to Flowmon and get data particular to this interface without searching for it again in Flowmon?
The integration that Pavel demonstrated, the tools menu where you can open Flowmon directly from PRTG, that will take you into the main menu of Flowmon. So from there, you would have to find the device within the Flowmon interface. So we can't really jump from interface to interface, but we can jump from device to device, or source, I guess the Flowmon guys would call it.
Brilliant. Thank I think we have time to do maybe 4 more questions. I'll ask you guys to answer sharply and promptly so that we can do as many as possible. Does Flowmon need to receive NetFlow or XFlow traffic from routers or switches, or is an appliance it bypass traffic where you consider best in topology, like old packet shapers QoS appliance? Does this question make sense? And Pavel, are you able to answer it?
Yeah, I think I can clarify that, because it goes to the way how Flowmon is deployed. So it's a hybrid monitoring in sense of that you can ingest different types of data. So sure, you can ingest NetFlow, SFlow from all the routers, which is all the network equipment that works out of the box. And you can also deploy our probes, which are our own sources of these traffic statistics in IPFix format. And these devices are deployed in the network, not inline, but out of band. So they receive a copy of the traffic. So you place them on span ports or network taps. You don't place them inline like a traffic shaper or like a firewall. So the traffic is not directly passing through. It's just monitoring the copy of the traffic. And that way it does not affect the monitored environment anyhow. And for sure, you need to understand your network topology and pick the most important places like the core switch or the internet uplink. So you need to really look at your network topology to understand where you will get the data from the existing router switches and where you need to place Flowmon probes.
Thank you. Simon, is Flowmon data from PRTG taken by SNMP or is it an API?
Yes, is the short answer. There's a number of ways we can get information from Flowmon. The Flowmon integration package consists of both predefined SNMP sensors and also script-based sensors that are written in Python. But there's also the possibility Flowmon have got a very rich API for their application. So there's also the possibility to use REST-based sensors to pull information in from the Flowmon modules.
Pavel, where does Flowmon get traffic flow data? Is it from PRTG or independently?
No, that's independently.
I would like to display the data for each Flowmon profile in PRTG. Is this possible, Simon?
Yes, potentially. I don't think the map Pavel showed had that level of detail, but yes, our dashboards are incredibly flexible. Any object that we monitor in PRTG can be added to a dashboard, so it will be fairly easy to create a profile or different profiles on a map.
And one last question. Pavel, I shared it with you over the chat. It was quite long and complicated for me to be able to accurately translate into English and present here. Did you have time to go through it? Are you able to summarize the question and respond at the same time?
Yes, I think so. I understand that the question is talking about displaying DNS names instead of IP addresses in Flowmon user interface, and the short answer is yes, sure, it's there. It's just in my lab there is no DNS names for the IP addresses. So in typical company deployment, you will configure DNS servers. So you will actually translate IP addresses to domain names and provide that in the user interface. Also, if you want to import something like configuration management database, so if you want to import a list of your IPs, names, types of hardware, operating system, whatever, you can do it as well. And then this information is part of the events in anomaly detection system. So you can drill down to that specific information for an IP address. So the answer for that is yes, DNS as a standard and a couple of other options as well.
I'm so grateful for all the questions. We are not able to answer them all, but we will come back to you offline after the session. Thank you very much, all of our today's guests, Thomas Timmerman, Simon Bell, Pavel Minařík. Thank you so much for your time and for your expertise.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Arte, for doing this great presentation here. And
thank
everybody.
you, everyone, for joining. Enjoy the rest of your week and hope to see you next for another great webinar. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.